So we want to bring in Kevin Mahn. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Hennion and Walsh Asset Management. Kevin, great to have you back on the show. We're looking at some selling pressure today. What do you make of it and the importance here that we do get some sort of deal out of Washington over the next couple of days?
Yes, today is certainly complicated by the fact that it is quadruple witching day, as you just alluded to, and we have stalled talks in Washington as it relates to both additional coronavirus relief funding and also funding the government in general. Unfortunately, it looks as though those talks will likely continue into the weekend, leaving investors waiting to find out what happens when they come back to the market on Monday, remembering that next week is also a holiday shortened week. So we're going to have a lot of volatility and a lot of uncertainty going into this particular holiday.
And Kevin, talking about a lot of that uncertainty, I think the big question clearly is where we go from here, whether or not today we are seeing some selling pressure, but we're not far from those record highs. What do you think is needed just to keep this momentum going as we take a longer term outlook and look further out into 2021?
It's a great question, Shawna. And we see areas for opportunity in four specific areas as it stands right now. One being cybersecurity, two being healthcare, three being other transformative technologies, and finally e-commerce. So let me just start with cybersecurity. Consider this, that computers with internet access experience a hacker attack every 39 seconds, with 1 in 3 Americans being impacted every year. Furthermore, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the FBI has reported a 300% increase in reported cyber crimes. That's pretty staggering, but shouldn't be too surprising given that more of our society is now working remotely, shopping remotely, educating remotely, and communicating remotely. So maintaining our confidential and sensitive data and transmitting that data on a confidential and secure basis becomes of paramount importance. That's why we see opportunities for growth as relates to cybersecurity stock. Those other three areas, Shawna, of course, healthcare is of paramount importance, and certainly COVID-19 reminded us of the need for innovative healthcare solutions, and they generally come from smaller cap biotech companies. But we're also going to need more transformative technologies as our society continues to transform itself to being more of a virtual and remote-oriented culture. Those technologies include, as you know, artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, and even now, as we're finding out, 5G. Very, very intriguing areas for investors to consider, not only the rest of this year, what we believe for the years to come, Shawna.
And Kevin, just more broadly speaking, I think some of the recent data that we've gotten out is a little bit concerning, especially when you take a look at that jobless claims number that we got yesterday, nearly 900,000 people filing for first claims. We also got that retail sales number out earlier this week. When you take a look at the fact that the recovery seems to be slowing, is the market going to be able to keep shrugging this off? Because I get it, a lot of this data is backward looking. The market likes to look forward, but at some point, could we see maybe a bit of a pullback because of this slowing in the recovery?
Yeah, and we have to remember that in our country, 70% of our economic growth comes from the consumer. So consumer spending is of critical importance. Clearly, consumers cannot spend if they're doubtful about the prospects of their future job or the future wages. But what we did see on Cyber Monday was a record day for cyber security sales, with $10.8 billion being spent, representing a 15.1% year-over-year increase. We also know that this holiday shopping season it's expected that there will be $1.1 trillion spent, with e-commerce representing a 36% year-over-year increase, whereas traditional brick and mortar sales will represent roughly a 5% decrease. We think that's an opportunity for growth as we look ahead too, not just shown in those traditional e-tailers such as Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, but also in those other companies and industries that stand to derive benefits from the roles they play in the e-commerce ecosystem, the credit card companies, the payment processors, the delivery companies, the warehouses, distribution centers. There are opportunities for growth, but clearly jobs are at the forefront of this recovery. And we believe for that reason that an infrastructure spending bill will likely be passed in the new year to help put more Americans back to work again.
Kevin Mahn, always great to have you, Chief Investment Officer with Hennion and Walsh Asset Management. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
You too, Shona. Thank you.